Okay, this is the recap for Thursday, June 4th. So, the first thing I saw coming into the day is that overnight we swept out all these 1 hour lows here, and we finally hit this 1 hour gap that I wanted to see yesterday. So, right off the bat, this looked really bullish to me, and I really only wanted to look for longs. And you can see we started to get this reaction out of this 1 hour gap here. So I didn't think we would really, start coming lower for these lows here, mainly because of this gap, which was also a 4 hour gap. And if you look at the 4 hour, this just looked like a high time frame market maker buy model to me after sweeping all these lows here. And then if you look at ES, pretty much the same thing. We're still holding this 4 hour gap. We still hadn't inversed it. So I pretty much had two scenarios going in, is either we get a reaction off of this and then we can continue higher back up to these highs, or at least rebalance this 1 hour leg. And we did have this 1 hour gap here. Or I'm just wrong and we just want to continue lower and hit this new week opening gap that we never filled. But I wasn't too worried about this because it's all the way down here. On top of that, ES already traded into it, so I didn't really need to hit that. But from there, what I saw is we had left previous day high up here, which was also all-time high. Swept out previous day low. And then if you look at where the daily opened, 1800. So right away we just chopped around 1800, but this leg here looked like good manipulation into this 1 hour gap and sweeping out all these lows. So I viewed this as the daily candle opening lower, especially if you look at ES. Here's on the 1 hour time frame. We kind of just chopped around, and then London trades lower, and we also close above 1800 and midnight open on the 1 hour. So that looked like pretty bullish to me. The way we had closed above this on ES made me think we'd come higher, even though on NQ we were way below it. So pretty much what I wanted to see is just for us to hold this 1 hour gap here and maybe get some sort of SMT and just look for longs. So what ended up happening is at open, let's see, at open we came straight up into this 1 hour gap right here, which wasn't great for longs because I wanted to just see an open lower right away. And then we did have this 1 hour rejection block that we were holding. So I saw a couple things out of this 1 hour rejection block, which was, first of all, we did have this 5 minute right here, but I didn't really like this 5 minute because it looked like engineer liquidity for the CE of this 1 hour. Let me fix this. So this 5 minute looked like engineer liquidity for this, the CE of this 1 hour rejection block. So I didn't really look to take anything out of this. It was also pretty early. And ES, same thing, traded higher, and it was still holding this little 4-hour gap. So I wanted to see maybe like an SMT for like full confirmation to the upside from there. And then what we did is we resweep this low and we get a 5-minute off of the CE of this 1 hour, which looked really good, but the stop was just a bit too big and there wasn't really a way to enter on the 1 minute. And there was a small 3-minute as well, which looked pretty good, but the stop would have been pretty big, so I didn't really want to take this. And also the way that 9:30 opened higher, I wasn't sure about this, so I said, okay, I'm just gonna wait and see what 10 a.m. does. So 10 a.m. opens right here. And I got rid of this because we closed below it on the 5-minute. I didn't really think this would hold. I expected this low to get reswept with 10 a.m. opening lower. I wanted to see this low or this low. And what looked really good for me was the CE of this 1 hour gap, because we also had this with the daily range. And I'm going to move to this chart. So I've had the fib on the daily here, which aligned, OTE aligned really nice with the CE of this 1 hour gap. And this low right here looked like good engineered liquidity for the CE of this 1 hour gap. So this is like perfectly what I wanted to see happen. But what happened is we actually barely miss it. So we did have this 1 minute rejection block, but what I wanted to see happen is for it to get reswept and hit the CE of this 1 hour gap for like my really specific level. But that didn't end up happening because ES was just a lot stronger and we had an SMT here. So we ended up just running higher straight off of sweeping this low, and we missed the CE of this gap. And ES just looked a lot stronger. So I saw that we had this 1 minute rejection block, and I said, okay, we also have this 3 minute, which I wasn't sure about just because NQ was a weaker asset. So I wasn't sure about this 3-minute holding. So I thought, okay, maybe we get a 5-minute and I'll take that. But we didn't end up getting this 5-minute flip. This 5-minute closed bullish, and then we ran and closed above 10 a.m. And we had this SMT. We also had ES still holding midnight open right here. So ES was much stronger, which would have been the stronger asset. And in Q, the only entry would have been this 3-minute, which actually did get edged too if you put your limit right here. But this would have been really good if you took it on MNQ. You get tagged in here if you include this volume imbalance. And maybe target these highs. This would have been really good. But I missed my entry. So after seeing this 10 a.m. open lower, SMT right here, and then close above 10 a.m. on the 5 minute. I was really bullish and I just expected 10 a.m. to continue higher. And 1800 was pretty much my draw. And I didn't really care about this 1 hour gap anymore since I was just really bullish. Another thing I forgot is on the daily, we also had this daily rejection block on ES. We hit the CE of this and rebalanced OTE of the daily range perfectly right here. So my thought process was if this daily rejection block CE is going to hold and OTE is going to hold perfectly, then I don't really see any reason to be bearish. I just expected this to be low of day, especially with this S&T, and for us to continue higher back to previous day high, eventually previous day high, but it'll take a while to get there. But with all these highs still being up here, all these stacked highs, that's what I thought. So what I did is I looked for something off of 10 a.m. And if you look at the 15-minute, we had this 15-minute rejection block, which I wanted to see get traded back into. But we had a quick expansion off of this SMT, and we had 10 a.m. get tapped with this 1 minute rejection block, and we traded back towards this 1 minute. And what I should have done is just place my limit on this 1 minute right here. And just get tagged in from the limit. But I wasn't super sure because this is really premium on the 5 minute range. But what I saw is we still had this 1 minute rejection block, and we get rid of this, and we also had this 5 minute gap. So once we hit this 1 minute rejection block, I was pretty sure that this 1 minute would hold, especially with this 5 minute gap being right here with 10 a.m. And I didn't really care that it was super premium in the 5 minute range. If I draw the fib on this leg, yeah, we were pretty far from OTE equilibrium, but I pretty much expected this to hold just because of how bullish we were off of this and being so close to these highs. I figured we'd at least take these highs before, if we want to come back to equilibrium, we should take these highs first. So I entered a little late. I pretty much saw this 1 minute CISD off of this rejection block, and I entered right around here. So this would have been best entry right here. My entry was around here, and I just put my stop under this small 1 minute and targeted it was about a 1-to-1. So maybe, no, it was about a 1-to-2. I just had a small target because I just wanted to go ahead and finish building the buffer on the funded account. So I just want to get a small trade in. Would have been nice to hold this because you could have caught a lot more, but I pretty much just played it safe and closed once we filled this old new day opening gap. And ES also filled this 1 hour gap, and that's where I closed right here when ES filled the 1 hour. So yeah, that's the trade I took today. Pretty unfortunate that I did not take this first 3 minute. I just didn't like the way it edged the CE of this 1 hour gap, and I was being pretty careful with it being the day before NFP. But yeah, pretty good day. So after this low got swept, we just expanded higher to London high, and here's 1800 midnight open. So yeah, pretty much exactly what I wanted to see is for this gap to hold, which we did perfectly. Um, Wish I could have gotten a much better entry, but yeah, that's what I took today and how I read it. So I would imagine that we just continue higher back to all-time high now. I don't see a reason that we would come lower, especially looking at this 4 hour candle, this huge candle. So yeah, we'll see what we do from there, and I'll see you in the next one.